to Daily Focus. I'm glad that you joined me again this morning. And we're looking forward to a great opportunity to serve the Lord today. I hope that your day is off to a great start. And whatever time you start your day, I hope that you have rejoiced in the fact that this is the day that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I got a chance to clean up some water in my basement since my humidifier or the drain plugged, and so that created some excitement. So I'm trying to catch my breath a little bit. But anyway, so Proverbs chapter 21, we're going to look at something very interesting that has a very pertinent application to today. So Proverbs chapter 21, we'll start reading verse 24. Proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. He coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. Talking about a lazy person, the thing that destroys him is not bad luck. The thing that destroys him is not, getting the short end of the deal. The thing that destroys him is not all the excuses that he makes. The thing that destroys him is he's unwilling to work, to labor. And verse number 26 says, he wants all this stuff. It reminds me of, unfortunately, a socialistic society and an entitlement mindset where individuals are thinking, I want all this stuff that everyone else has. This idea of certain people are privileged or certain races are privileged is baloney. This time I hope you can hear me, and thank you for those of you that are so on top of that. Unfortunately, I didn't get the plug all the way plugged into the camera, so it wasn't communicating. A good little lesson there in communication. But thank you for letting me know. And so we'll start all over again. But thank you for joining me for Daily Focus this morning. We're going to be in Proverbs chapter 21. And Proverbs chapter 21 is going to address something that is very pertinent to today. And so we'll start reading in verse number 24. Proverbs 21:24. Proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hand refused to labor. He coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. It's talking about this proud, arrogant, life is all about me picture of a scorner, and who gets all upset when people don't cater to him. He gets all upset when other people seem to get all the breaks. He makes excuses for why he doesn't do right, but he refuses to develop the character to do right. And then it pictures this slothful side of individuals, and the reason why they do without, the reason why that they are in verse number 25, the reason why they are suffering consequences, or the slothful, what killeth them is the picture, is not the fact that they got a bad break. It's not the fact that everyone else is privileged. It's not the fact that everyone else is getting a break. It's the fact that they refuse to labor. They refuse to do what is necessary to achieve. Now, this idea that a certain race is privileged, a certain idea that certain people get all the breaks, certain people are the reason why things are going better for them, is just a cop-out. God makes it clear. And in America, anyone can excel. It will take work. It will take labor. It will take a little creativity. And it's just a matter of how hard is someone willing to work. What kind of risks is a person willing to take? Because if someone wants to sit back and make all kinds of excuses, If somebody wants to just sit back and blame everyone else for why life is good for them and why they've got it so bad, they're going to come to poverty. They're going to come to hunger. And the reason isn't because everyone else has it so good. God makes it clear. The reason is because they refuse to work. And verse number 26 says that he coveteth greedily all the day long. In other words, he wants what everyone else has. He desires to have maybe the house that someone else has been able to acquire, or the car someone else is able to drive, or the job that someone else is willing to have. But they're not willing to do what was necessary to be able to achieve those things. They just want them. And then it concludes by saying in verse 26, the righteous giveth and spareth not. In other words, they're able to achieve these things and have some extra stuff. And the reason is because they work, they labor, they're willing to do what is necessary to be able to achieve. And so it's a contrast here about an entitlement mindset and a worker's mindset. And then it goes on in verse number 27, the sacrifice of the wicked is abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind, or a wicked plan? A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. A wicked man hardeneth his face. In other words, a rebellious person, you can tell it on their countenance. But as for the upright, he directeth his way. He has a plan according to the path of wisdom. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. In other words, the theme is consistent. God's not going to do our part for us. We're going to have to prepare the horse against the day of battle. We can trust the Lord for the result. We can trust the Lord for the strength to fight. We can trust the Lord in all of that, but he's not going to prepare our horse for the day of battle. We have to be personally responsible. We have to be willing to engage in the risks. We've got to prepare for the risks. We have been told in COVID-19 that somehow people cannot be personally responsible for themselves and their family. Somehow the government has to tell us how we function and what we do and what we don't do. And that's frustrating to me because that's just not government's role. Government's role is not to control every aspect of a person's life. A very democratic republic requires that individuals be personally responsible. Dictatorship says people will not be responsible, therefore the state has to make every decision for them. It has to control every aspect of their life. And we have a liberal agenda that wants that. And so, unfortunately, Americans and many Christians are willing to just give up their freedom in order for someone else to make all of their decisions. And much of that is based upon verse number 28. A false witness shall perish. And then it says, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. Ryrie says that though a false witness will perish, the one who listens attentively will report accurately, and that testimony will stand. It's interesting that I got this morning from the CDC just a little report. Now, this is not what's being reported. What we're hearing in the false propaganda of our news world, and with the leaders who want control, absolute control, over the affairs and the decisions of all of us, they're not accurate. Now, I'm thankful that God says their false witness will perish. In other words, the day is going to come where they're going to be found out. But we need to be able to find the facts and attentively and appropriately reflect the facts. And so it's very interesting that it has total tested, almost 91% of everyone tested test negative. And just over 9% of those tested actually test positive for COVID-19. It's very interesting that when you look at all of the facts, we're being told a lie. We're being told that somehow we have to mitigate not letting anyone get COVID-19 because we don't want them on a respirator, we don't want them on a ventilator, we don't want them dying. And if you get it, that's what's going to happen, but that's just not the facts. The facts are that you have a 99.96, let me say it again, a 99.96% chance of not dying from COVID-19. And the reality is this is a manageable risk. Really only a little over 9%, 9.24% of everyone tested test positive. And of those, some of them have very minimal, most of them have very manageable symptoms. And it's not really what it's being made out to be. It's being made out to be this monster. That's a false witness. We're being told we have to do all of this nonsense stuff that disrupts life and disrupts communities, and it disrupts families, and it disrupts education in order to manage this risk, when really we're dealing with a really small percent of our population even affected by it. And yet it is the solution, we're being told, to combat this is affecting 100% of us. Well, I'm finding comfort in the fact that God says a false witness shall perish. In other words, it's not going to win. But the man that heareth and speaketh constantly, in other words, the man who is able to discern accurately and reports that, that is the person who will stand. That's the testimony that's going to stand. Truth will come out. And much like the Russian collusion, and we're finding out that the liberals were the ones colluding, that all came out. I mean, there was a lot of nonsense talked about for a while, but truth came out. It always does. And that is the case with this. And so I'm not saying that there hasn't been people impacted by COVID-19. There has. I'm not saying that it's not real. It is. I'm just saying it's entirely manageable, but it's being presented in a false way that somehow it's this loose cannon that we just cannot contain, and therefore we have to do all of these things. That is a lie. It can be. It affects very small percent of Americans. And we need to operate our lives personally responsible in light of facts, not fear. I trust that'll be an encouragement to you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. God bless you.